Hi guys, my name is Alex. I'm the guy wearing the green and red hoodie and climbing into the catapult. If it's not clear what's happening in this video, we're testing a catapult, and I'm going to be the counterweight that launches the projectiles. If that still doesn't make much sense, let me explain a bit more. For the last 10 years, I've been doing YouTube full-time, and I run several channels. So, if you notice plaques for 1 million subscribers and similar awards on the walls in some of my videos, those are not fake, they're real. The channel you're watching right now is our new channel, where we plan to do various interesting projects related to 3D printers, smart homes, and sometimes crazy things like this catapult. Before we start the video, let's go back to the beginning. Where did the idea to build an 8-meter catapult and put it in our backyard to launch projectiles even come from? The idea came to me completely randomly. One day I was sitting in my living room watching the History Channel, and they were talking about how people used to fight wars in the past. And I immediately thought, if they could build these things back then without modern tools, surely we can build one today. We even checked the laws in our country and realized there's nothing written about catapults. Which makes sense, because why would there be? So we decided to build one. For this project to be possible, you first need to meet Bokan. Bokan is our guy for giant projects. He loves cutting, welding, and working with metal in general. He often forges swords, shields, and similar things. So the moment he heard what we were planning, he knew this was his kind of project. Even though math isn't exactly his strongest side, he always tries to make things properly. Just kidding. Bokan is the best. Since we were already a bit behind schedule with this project, we had to speed things up so we could finally finish it and test it. Because of that, we stayed an extra 4 or 5 hours that night working on different parts. Of course, we made a million small mistakes, like this weld for example, but that always happens with projects like this. We just try to fix everything with the least amount of trouble possible. Even though Bokan prefers working with metal, in this project he didn't have much luck with it, so he was actually excited when it was time to start working with wood. And why measure with a tape measure when you can measure with your fingers? After all, we're building a machine that was originally made before modern tools existed. After spending several hours working alone, he slowly started going a little crazy. And you can see that in this clip. Bokan alone with his thoughts. Just a normal day for him. By the way, Bokan genuinely loves building things. For him, it's first a hobby, and only then a job. He truly enjoys it. When we offered to help him with the project, he basically said, "You guys handle the things you're good at, and let me handle the part I know best." And that's exactly how it went. What you're seeing here isn't really good practice. I increased the amperage too much and burned straight through the metal. Honestly, I was just too lazy to drill the hole. And now, the moment everyone was waiting for. Alright Alex, get in the basket so we can use you as the counterweight. We haven't tested this yet, and since you're insured, you're the best candidate. And here's my first reaction.
Saque se sprema! Nisam!
They lifted me about 7 meters into the air, and I have to say, I was not comfortable at all. First, because everything looked pretty unsafe. Second, there were random pieces of metal sticking out everywhere, so definitely don't try this at home. We were just lucky. Since they were excited, they immediately wanted to lift me again. But I started running away right away. I really didn't feel like doing that again. Luckily, I'm not the only crazy one in this team. so other members decided to try the catapult as well. One of them was too scared to go in alone, so they decided to jump in together, thinking that maybe the extra weight would launch the projectile even harder. Of course, since they were heavier than Bokan, he couldn't lift them. So I had to jump in and help, and of course I managed to step on a nail. Honestly, everything that could possibly happen in this video happened. But in the end, the catapult officially passed its first test. Now it needs to be disassembled, moved to another location, and then we'll use it for the real test, launching projectiles at a target.
3, 4, jeste spremni? Ne! Krećemo! Šta je jednom, sve me boli, moram da napravim neki mehanizam.
So after the first successful test, we decided it was time for the real thing. We disassembled the catapult and moved it a bit further back into the yard, where we had more open space and a safer area to shoot the projectiles. Once we brought all the parts there, we spent several hours assembling everything again. Anyone who has built something this big knows that taking it apart is the easy part. Putting it back together is where the real challenge begins. Bolts, cables, the arm, the counterweight system, everything had to line up perfectly again. Eventually, the catapult was standing again, ready for testing, and honestly, it worked even better than we expected. We started launching projectiles one after another, aiming only at our own targets in the yard. Nothing dangerous, nothing crazy, just testing the machine we had spent so much time building. Technically, what we were doing wasn't illegal at all, but apparently, not everyone around us was as excited about our catapult as we were. At some point, one of the neighbors must have seen what was happening and decided to call the police, and after a little while, they actually showed up. You can see it in this footage. The police arrived, walked around the catapult, looked at the structure, and asked us a bunch of questions. Honestly, they also looked a bit surprised, because it's not every day that you see an 8-meter medieval catapult standing in someone's backyard. We explained everything, that this was just a project, that we were only launching projectiles at targets inside our own yard, and that we had already checked the laws before building it. Technically, they agreed with us. There wasn't really anything illegal about it, but they still warned us that if the neighbors kept complaining, the situation could become more complicated. So, to avoid any bigger problems, they advised us to remove the catapult. And that was a pretty tough moment, especially for Bokan. He had spent so many hours cutting, welding, fixing mistakes, and building this entire structure. For him, this wasn't just another project. He genuinely loved making it. So having to take it down right after we finally got it working was honestly really disappointing. In the end, we didn't want to risk any serious problems, so we made the decision to dismantle it. And just like that, our giant backyard catapult had to come down. In the end, we packed everything up, loaded the parts away, and the yard slowly went back to looking normal again. Like nothing had ever happened there. Not exactly the ending we imagined when we first started building an 8-meter catapult, but sometimes that's just how these projects go. You build something crazy, you test it, and then reality shows up. Sometimes in the form of curious neighbors and a police car. Still, the whole experience was worth it. We learned a lot, we had a lot of fun building it, and for a short moment there was a fully working medieval machine standing right there in our backyard. And honestly, that's a story we're definitely going to remember.